Good morning, guys. Welcome to Wednesday, March 12th. And we got CPI coming out this morning. That's going to be the big news of the day. So far, the overnight has been actually pretty on the positive side. For once, if I haven't seen that for a few days. Yesterday was, well, actually, yesterday was kind of okay on the upside as well, but then that quickly turned in before the open into something different. But we'll see. So far, the overnight is to the upside, and we'll take anything we can get. But at this point, that's where we are. So it's same story. I mean, we are way below this area of support, the 5730s. We are in discovery to the downside at this point, where we're going to actually find some support, and we are past these areas where this is the 180 days back kind of cutoff. That's what that is. So we are right band below it. So we're back into territory before September last year, last summer. So, and this tells you that, yeah, we are probing pretty hard to the downside. And if I remember right, we had a pretty good run up to this area. So we're down here probing. We'll see how far they're going to take it. It's anyone's guess. A few people I heard analysts talking about potential for market to capitulate pretty soon, or if it already has, it doesn't necessarily be in one day. Sometimes it happens over a couple of days, but you saw that big sell of that last rundown we have here. Felt pretty much like the market was capitulating, and that was like the last little hurrah to the downside. We'll see. I mean, at this point, we are not out of it by any means. So I will be looking at this and see if we can get an inside day. And they don't expect or they don't extend to the downside, and maybe we start finding a bottom here soon. So we're good 10% down at this point. We're on 6150, so about 600 points is kind of what we are on the downside. And we'll see, 10%. They can certainly go deeper than that, but at this point, we just have to kind of keep trading it from the short side until we find a spot which cuts off the selling. That's kind of the dynamic where we are in. So I'm still looking at that for looking at to get short against early strength. Right now we have early strength in the overnight. Looking for short setups against these levels of resistance, the 56.25s, the 40s, and the 50s. Now we do have CPI come out this morning. That's pretty much the only news we have for the day. We had the mortgage apps come out this morning. They were a little bit to the upside. They were better. They were good numbers, positive numbers. The CPI comes out at 8:30. Oil report at 10:30, and we have at 10 o'clock we get the 10-year auction. So 10-year auction could also be interesting to watch, but definitely that CPI number could set the stage. I'm not sure it hasn't really been that big of an influence lately, but especially in the kind of context we are right now. So I'm not going to be super concerned about it. But if it's a good number, it drops down. I think they could certainly help us find the bottom, and maybe even see this a little bit of an extension to the upside here. So at this point, starting off looking for early strength to get short for rotations and back down again. So at this point, we are at the 56, looking for short setups against 56.25, at 56.40s, 56.50s for rotations back and down again. Above 56.50s, I think we have a shot at that's this double letter ledge right here. At that, if we get past this guy, I think we have a shot at maybe retracing a bit. If we can get up above this 57.30s, I'm going to be I'll be a little bit more inclined to start looking at this on the long side of the market and see if maybe we have found the bottom, and maybe we started retracing a bit. But it doesn't mean that you're going to just kind of turn this around and retrace. We're probably going to see this market come down here and test levels and support levels a few times before we find a spot where the buying interest picks back up again. So we are well beyond that the quick dip retracement kind of dynamic. We are well above that, well below that, and we're going to have to find a good support area before the market's going to find a spot where they can really start to retrace it or rallying again. So initially, on the ES, looking to sell strength at right now, looking for short setups against the 56.25s, the 56.40s, and 50s for rotations back down. If the trade above 56.50s, I'm going to be looking maybe for a move to the upside. There could certainly be a long trade in here running it up to the 56.70s. But remember, we got 56.70s, we got levels up here, 57.30 is the one I'm really keying in on. So this little double-letter ledge, we have a little support from 56.70, and that's going to be that next level up. But we got some range here before we really get into an area where we may see a turnaround be in the works. So probing to the downside, I would almost call it price discovery to the downside, because right now we're in territory we haven't been for quite a while. So we'll see whether we're actually going to hold the line. Always key in on areas. You see this little high volume area. That's where they ran it right to that area, the 55.30s. We have a nice volume edge here at the 56.40s. And so if they can take out that 40 to 50 area, that's that upper resistance area we have right in front of us. If they can take that out, we're going to get back into this little low volume area. They built a little bit of volume here in the middle at around 5700s, but it is still a general low volume area. And if they can get up above that again, that's when we can start thinking about the long side again. So at this point, I would prefer short setups for rotations back down again. And the levels I'm keying in on right now. So in other words, looking to sell strength. On the way down, though, if they start heading lower, buying against support, 5605s, 5600, 5585s, 5575s, and that would be more for range bound trading day. So if the reaction is range bound but not necessarily directional, I think those areas could provide support for a range bound trading day. If they blow through that 55.75s, I would just, okay, fine, we're heading back down, testing the lows, maybe even pushing lower. So that's going to be your open. At that point, I would just look for short setups to see if they can run it lower. They can always support could hold at 55 here at the 50s and maybe even down at the 30s. But I would just use those areas for reference and not make sure I don't try to take a short trade right into a support area like that, because it could hold. You can see a bounce off it. But I would be pretty much leaning in on the short side if that 75 comes out. So starting off looking for those short opportunities against the early strength. If we get weakness, and they start testing, probing down the downside, if we don't get much of that early strength, still potential buying opportunities against those four levels, 5605s, 5595s, 85s, and the 75s, four rotations back up. But that a lot of caution there. Just be mindful. If there's going to be a pretty good move to the downside, you don't want to be stuck in a trade there for too long. So I mean, look with a decent setup and a trigger. And if we end up getting a range bound day and more of a pause day, yeah, then this could certainly be support areas which you're going to hold. And if that 75 comes out, just stay on the short side, and then keep your fingers crossed that everything doesn't just kind of fall apart again. So we'll see. They're taking pretty good haircuts. You see some of the big techs been driving this for the last 6 months. Well, they've been driving it for a while, but Microsoft, Nvidia, Apple, and also the big tech stocks, they're taking a pretty good haircut. So it is a pretty gnarly scenario across the board. So that's the ES to get started. Let's see if we can get this early strength. It's going to continue, or if we are going to kind of run out of gas at one point here. Looking at the NASDAQ and the bonds. So bond market is to the downside. Interesting. So they are backing off a little bit of this attractor area, the 1716s. So they're down here now, moving down, heading down to the 116.08. But you can see this 117.20 area. That's definitely a lot of volume being traded here. So that's a good attractor. It's stronger than the 1608s at this point. So, but it doesn't mean that the 1608 is not a small attractor to the downside. So I'm thinking that we may be running down here to see a test, but that would be a sign, though, that that the equity markets may have found some support, and and the people are rotating back out of bonds into equities again. The fact that the bond market has been sitting here, not really moving to the upside as we had this last few days of selling, it's just a good sign, I think. This just means that the flight to safety is not like a full-on panic as rotating into bonds. Then you see bonds trading a lot higher than they are right now. So it's thinking we are backing off a little bit. So starting off with a slight bias to the downside to see if they can extend down here towards the 116.08. So looking to sell strength. At this point, it could be an edge in between here. That's yeah, I missed that thing. Let me put that in. I forgot the buck here. Right there. 117, and missed the 117s right there. So there we have that. So looking for short setups again, 1626s, the 117s up to the 1706s. Above the 1706s, I'm going to be looking for retracement back to 1720 here, but looking for short setups against this for like early strength. See if we can take this lower. And if they just keep going lower, looking for a run all the way down to the 116.08s. That's kind of where I think they're heading. So we'll see. It could also be that they're probing this lower edge too. They are down here at that lower edge. And at that point, support's going to hold, and we're going to see them just rotate right back again. But initially, I'm going to see if they can, if there's a little bit of some legs behind this, and then maybe they can take this a little bit lower. All right, so that's the bonds. And NASDAQ, well, a little bit of strength to get the day started. I like that. We'll just have to see if that's going to hold or not. So far, they has been pretty freaking gnarly about that. So the 20,000 level is the one to key in on. He said if you see this area right there, that's your support area on the NASDAQ, the key area to kind of hold on to. And we've been all the way down to the 19,100. So that's a pretty good move to the downside. This big move we had early on when they ran from 17, 18 all the way to 19, that was a big run up there. And they definitely probed quite a bit below that one. So we'll see if they found support. This last sell-off felt very much like a capitulating market, but it doesn't need to be. We can see worse days than that. So you just never know. So at this point, looking to sell strength. This against the 19.6s, 680s, up to the 750s for rotations back down. I would say above the 680s, I would take off the look for early strength, maybe even look for a little bit of a retracement trade. See if they can take it up here to that would be the 760s, maybe even up to the 20,000. So and NASDAQ could certainly it's probably more inclined to have a good rally. Because those stocks has been beaten down so hard. It's like what is it? The Nvidia from 150 down to below 110. That's $40. That's a good 30% of their value. It's knocked off like that. So there's a lot of people watching that in disbelief. But anyway, so looking to sell strength at this right now against the 19.6s, 680s. For rotations back down. There could be a level in between here. This two little edge could be a level right there at 640s. Right? Not enough for me to want to draw it out there. So 680. If they trade above the 680s, I would look for potential retracement trades up to towards the 20,000s. But they got a lot of range before they get there. It's like 400 points. So you have some areas to cover here first, but. One level outside the obvious would be the 750s. Above that one, I think they really have a shot at taking this higher. But at this point, looking to get short against 600, 680s for rotations back down. And if we start seeing this run out of gas and we just see weakness, again, looking to buy against the 520s, 480s, 430s, and the 390s with a lot of caution, because that's not going to be very aggressive on the long side, but if you're going to get a range bound day, chances are we're going to see that London low hold, or at least they're not trading below it, and that would be a nice pause day. That would be setting it up for potentially entering that stage 2 again and looking for a spot to start building value. So that's how we get started on the NASDAQ. Still in the mode of short. looking for this early strength, looking for short setups against this early strength. Let's see if they can hold on to it, or if we're going to see, as we have the last few days, this early strength turn into more of weakness and then flat out selling, you know. All right, back finally, oil and gold. So gold kind of still stuck in the range. So the gold kind of hasn't been too interesting to trade. I mean, it's definitely a range bound trade, but from the last few days, well, last few months of then trading higher, then finally really settling in around about 29.30s here. So we have a pretty obvious area right now where support is down here at the 28.80 to 2900s. And the resistance is up here at the 29.60 up to the 29.75s. So, and we are pretty much trading in that range. So I would just stay range bound and look for 3-4 levels up, 3-4 levels down. And then if they trade outside of that, we may have a directional move on our hands. But the 3 levels up would be looking for shorts against the 25s, 29s, and the 35s. Looking to buy against the 29.16s, 12s, and the 08s for rotations back up again. And below 08s, we may see a move to the downside. Still have pretty good support here at 2900 and the 28.95s. But at that point, you may have a move to the downside. So I would be looking for short move to the downside, just not into support. And same thing on the way up here. Looking to buy when you take out a resistance area, but not as they enter one. I can't emphasize that can't emphasize that enough. The most common mistake is not knowing where the support resistance is at, and then getting caught up in a short-term chart like this, and then buying right into a support area or resistance area, selling right into support area, and finding yourself immediately getting stuck in a shitty trade, you know. So that's gold. Oil is also range bound, but I'm structurally to the downside on that guy. So it is not moving by any means in a fast pace to the downside, but they are moving to the downside, and they move a little bit lower, then retrace. They move a little bit lower, retrace, and they keep doing this. So, and I think that's a very orderly way of doing it. So look for short setups against strength for rotations back down. It's still the dominating trade, and to look for if they take out that 3-letter ledge at the 68s, take off the short bias and go back range bound at least until you start seeing them trade below it again. All right, so that is oil. Not going to be very aggressive on buying it, but buying opportunities are definitely there. So I mean, at this point, looking for short against 67.15s, 67.50s, 67.80s up to the 68s. Looking to buy against support 66.30s, 66s, 65.60s, and the 65.20s for rotations back up. And these lower support areas, no need to be super aggressive on them. But as you can tell, so when they hold, they're good, and you get a little bit of a bounce off it. So, and you're going to probably keep seeing that one for a while as that oil price slowly grinds lower. All right, so that's oil and gold. Let's get back to our ES. And okay, so far strength is holding on the ES and NASDAQ. Let's see what happens getting into that A period at 6 a.m. or it's going to be 9 a.m. on the East Coast, 9 a.m. Eastern. That's when you start seeing that weakness kicking in, if it's going to start kicking in. So we'll leave it there. All right, let's see if we get another crazy volatile day, or if we maybe get a little bit of relief. So good trading, guys. Watch the CPI number coming out in about 6 minutes. And we'll see you back at 11:30. All right, guys, later.